Chapter 4: The Betrayal. After we reach our earlier campsite, the princess rolls down her silk stockings and bathes her feet in the cool water of the stream, while Oscar hunts for something suitable to feed her. He eventually settles on more asparagus and a few wild berries. Except for our surly captive, the scene is peaceful and pleasant. Oscar's fondness for plants and sunlight has led me to spend many days in surroundings such as these, watching him enjoy himself. Or must be in great turmoil after our disappearances, and we ought to return as soon as possible. And yet, no one seems compelled to hurry. What are those called? Branching asphodel. Asphodel? What a pretty name! Then she blinks at a glimpse of fast-moving color overhead. That's a peacock butterfly. Ooh! I knew every contour of my country from the maps I've studied, but it looks so different to see it for myself. While those two explore the local wildlife, Callum stands alone, his eyes on the rippling reflections that cross the surface of the stream. What will our return mean to him? He'll have to confront his family again, while still bearing the painful memories of his last attempt to reach out to his sister. He's no longer a helpless child, and the king would find it difficult to thrash him even if he were so inclined. Still, challenging those who have held power over you all your life is never an easy task. And then there's the person who is least enthusiastic about returning. Hey, how about you just let me go? You've got your princess and your gold, and I've got nothing, so it's no harm done, right? Not a chance. I've got nothing against you lot. Untie me and I'll get gone. You'll never see me again. That's why you're staying tied. Soil's breath. Do you know what they'll do to me? Traitors hang. Maybe you should have thought of that before turning on your masters. Didn't do nothing you didn't do first, and them's your own family too. You carried off your sister, you plucked your own treasury, you coshed the little prince, you lied to him and her both, you half-choked the life out of me, and you call me a criminal? Come on, Lady Valois. Do you really trust him not to drop us both if he sees his chance? It's my life on the line. Let me go. You have no right to talk about lies after the games you played with me. What games? Oh, she didn't tell you? Nobody tells you anything, do they, little prince? Your girl bribed me to break her into nobles' rooms. Maybe she's a thief, huh? Paid me with this pretty little amber necklace, too. Oops. What? Let me go and I'll tell you what she said about you. I'm not listening to you. No one cares to hear anything more from you. Oh no? Funny that. I thought you wanted to know what was going on in your palace behind your back. I see things you hadn't. You or your sister neither. I can tell you all about them. That Duke and his Lady Sophie, for instance. Do you know what they're plotting? Cousin Sophia? What about her? She doesn't know anything. I do, and I can tell you if you let me go. Or maybe you'd rather ask your Valois girl. She and Duke Farad got mighty cozy in his rooms. What? The word of a known liar is meaningless. Ask your own questions, you'll see. I'm not the one telling lies. I've played you fair. I've kept my promises. And what of your oath to serve? Oh, that. Look, do any of you really want to go back to that palace? You set foot inside and you'll be trapped. They'll never let you see the sun again, princess. And you, prince criminal, you think they'll forgive you for what you've done? You've got your freedom and your wits and a good sum of coin. You could start a new life altogether. Her words do hold some truth to them. With such a sum of gold as that, I could buy land, a house, connections, enough to outfit and support myself while I build my place in society, enough even to make investments to sustain my position for the future. It is not, of course, enough to establish me as anything other than what I am, a gentlewoman of low rank. Respectable, perhaps, but not among the highest circles. And yet it would be sufficient to grant me what I have never had, an estate of my own. But that would only be the case if the funds were mine in total and in truth, and they are not. Some of us have a concept of honor. Come on, do you want to be nothing but what you are forever? This is your chance. Come with me, any of you. I'll see you straight. That is enough. With a discarded bit of silk, he gags Dolores, ignoring nipped fingers and frantic squawking. We probably should start on our way back. If you've rested enough. I'll be fine. You can lean on me if your feet hurt. Ah, I will assist her. We all will. Now, boys, let's not fight. Thank you for your contribution, Dolores. The walk back to the Palace of Guelinor is not so great in distance or in difficulty, particularly now that we do not require such secrecy and may make use of the roads. However, the new additions to our party cause our progress to be a great deal slower than a simple reversal of our original expedition. Neither woman can keep up a fast pace, although for entirely different reasons. Princess Cassidy struggles on bravely despite her sore toes, but her entire life to this point has been lived in a glass bubble. The novelty of sunlight, open air, and wild flowers is wearing thin. She has no strength, no endurance, and must frequently stop to rest. The page Dolores, on the other hand, has no intention of making this easy for us. She must be prodded, dragged, or slung bodily over Callum's shoulder in order to move at all. Man, Callum must be strong. As we walk, I watch Callum with his sister. Ah, more new text, hooray. I don't think he knows what to make of her. Her cheerful spirit, her ready acceptance of him, her loyalty and affection. All of these are things that seem strange and wonderful to him. He values her, that's easy to see. And yet, she is not what he was looking for. She was the illusion that he intended to destroy to reclaim his lost brother. It must be strange to find yourself liking someone after a plan like that. Almost as strange as it is for me to find myself reluctantly liking the man after everything he's done. Despite all of his secrets and machinations, I find that he is reliable. His actions are never selfish or thoughtless. Even if it costs him, he will do what he thinks is right. It doesn't matter. Now that the adventure is over, our association will end. Oscar and I will return to Ascendaware, and unless we receive another invitation, we may never see Guelinor again. Aww. As we near the palace, we catch sight of a figure in the distance. He's wearing the uniform of a soldier of Guelinor. I just realized we didn't chat to Oscar this time. Interesting. Of course, they must be sending out search parties by now. Hola, guard. The guardsman draws his sword on approach. He must find our appearance suspicious. One missing princess, 2 princes who should be in the palace under lock and key, and 2 servants, one of whom is tied up. I suppose we do look a bit suspicious at that. Declare yourselves. Callum and Cassidy of Guelinor, Oscar of Ascendaware and his companion, Miss Valois, and our prisoner. It's all right, they're rescuing me. Are you injured, my lady? Just a bit sore-footed. I don't suppose you have a horse. I would be happy to assist you, my lady. He comes closer and offers her his arm. But he hasn't put down his sword. Die, imposter! And everything happens in a flash. Cassidy is frozen in place, uncomprehending. Oscar's eyes open wide as he realizes the danger too late. Callum is already moving, but he was standing one step too far away. And I see Dolores lurching past me, still bound, driving her shoulder hard into Cassidy's form, knocking the princess off her feet and out of the line of the guardsman's strike. I take the same tactic, but apply it in the opposite direction, snapping a vicious sidekick into the guard's ribs. His armor pads him from any damage, but it drives him back and away from his target. Oh yeah! With a quick pivot, I restore my center and draw my daggers. I rush him, both blades flying rapidly to chime against his sword, forcing him to withdraw even further in order to regain the advantage of reach. He feints, then sweeps for my legs, but my lack of armor stands me an advantage here. I leap over the strike, then swipe at his eyes. I'm not close enough to connect, but his head jerks back by instinct, keeping him off balance. Now he's angry. Ooh. He brings his greater strength to bear against me, whelming blows that make the daggers ring in my hands. This is no sparring match. I can already feel a burning line across my arm where I failed to completely guard one slash. I come in close again, trying to pin his sword, but I've miscalculated. Oh. The guard's heavy muscular knee slams up hard into my unarmored midsection, knocking the breath out of me. Spots swim in my vision, and for a moment I can only bend over helplessly, vulnerable. But I have another advantage that he does not. I am not alone. As the guard raises his sword over my head, Prince Callum finally charges in, catching the guard's arm mid-stroke. Ooh. Using his weight and leverage, he flips the man onto his back, then pins him down with one knee. Die! Ooh. He raises his hand, then slams the side of it down hard into the soldier's throat. No! This time, it's too late to stop him. A crushed neck cannot be undone. Ugh. What? No, don't look! He pulls Cassidy away, leaving only Callum and myself to view the guard's dying struggles. As breath returns to my aching body, the guardsman loses his forever. We should have questioned him. He was an assassin and a fanatic. He made no attempt to hide his target. He couldn't possibly have expected to get away cleanly. He intended to attack until he was dead. He was one of your guards. He was in someone's pay. Probably Duke Farad. You! He directs that shout at Dolores, who lies still bound and gagged on the ground where she fell after knocking Cassidy aside. Did you know about this? She can't answer you like that. Fine. He hauls Dolores to her feet and unfastens the gag. Peh. Of course I didn't know, you corkhead. How would I? You reacted. She did protect me. She only did that to try and save her own skin. Sure, and wouldn't you? I don't want to die. I don't want her to die. I don't want anyone to die. You remember that, Your Highness. Remember who's a killer and who's not. Is that man really dead? Yes. I see. Waving Oscar and Callum aside, she kneels beside the body and lays one trembling hand upon its chest. Its chest? I'm sorry. May your rest bring you peace. No matter what they've done, I would not wish for anyone to die. He would have killed you if he could have. If his master had equipped him with a rifle or crossbow instead of a sword, we might not have been able to stop him. Oh! Duke Farad, he brought a collection of muskets with him. They're stored in his chambers. So this probably isn't his assassin. Or else there are more out there. We should hurry. We can send someone to pick him up later. We need to get you to safety. I'll do my best. Wait, one thing. I wanted to thank you for backing me up. Aww. You mean for saving your life? I wasn't out of the fight for good, but I'm glad you were there. I hold out my hand to him, this time of my own free will. His fingers wrap around mine, his grip strong and firm. I am glad that you were there also. Now let's move. Ah, we had a moment. So sweet. After a brief, intense journey, the familiar stone walls loom before us. We cluster tightly together in case of unknown dangers at this final hurdle. Callum in the lead, sheltering Cassidy behind him, then Oscar, then Dolores, then finally myself. The princess should be visible enough for our group to be granted passage without argument, but a sniper shot at her should be blocked by one of the two men. As for Dolores, someone has to keep an eye on her and make sure she doesn't try to run. She appears to have accepted her fate, but I wouldn't trust her not to turn on us at the worst possible moment. We reach the front gates. This time, Callum's bellowed greeting is met with a chorus of hails. A full company of guards charge out to surround and escort us. Even then, our heightened nerves do not allow us to relax easily, but the soldiers make no aggressive moves. They do not even ask for details of how we came to be in the situation, but move us swiftly into the safety of the building. There we will have to give our accounting to the King of Gwellinor. Alright. Inside, the guards suddenly call a halt. Royals this way, servants that way. What? Maddie stays with me. I mean, Miss Valois. Only one of them is a prisoner. We have orders, Your Highness. Your parents wish to speak with you urgently in their private chambers. It would not be appropriate for those not of royal birth to be admitted. Their statements will be taken later. I suppose. You won't let that one worm free. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on her. They will be guarded... Sorry. They will be guarded at all times. Oscar looks at me but says nothing. Cassidy draws herself up to her full height. Very well. Carry on. This isn't gonna end well. Dolores and I are herded into a room to await His Majesty's pleasure. Your weapons. What? Orders to avoid accidents. Indeed, another guard is already poking and prodding at Dolores to ensure that she's carrying nothing at all dangerous. I at least am spared that indignity, but I am made to hand over my daggers. After that, the guards take up positions outside the doors, preventing us from exiting, but otherwise leaving us alone. There is nothing for us to do but stare at each other and pace. I can only imagine what must be happening with the others. Will Prince Callum rage at his parents for having kept him in the dark all these years? Will he be punished, or will the newfound sibling bond between him and Princess Cassidy serve to mend all ills? And what of Oscar? He could demand reparations for the assault in the garden, if he chooses not to take Callum's side. Blast it, I wish I could be there. While I'm making wishes, I also wish for a cool drink and a warm bath. Sleeping in the forest does not suit me. You could at least untie me. You're a prisoner. Come on, what am I going to do? Knock you over and take on the entire palace guard by myself? Just want my hands free, that's all. My fingers hurt. Okay. I'd ask you to promise you'll behave, but I've seen how seriously you take your oaths. If it's like that, then I don't want your help. No, I'll do it. I struggle a bit with the tight knots, but eventually I have her free. She shakes out her hands, cursing under her breath, then scrubs at her face with clumsy fingers. Her eyes meet and hold mine for a moment, but her will is weaker than mine, and she soon looks away. Why did you do it? Do what? Betray your masters. Why not? You had a good position here. Better than someone like me deserves, huh? Don't think I haven't heard that every day of my life. You're somewhat unusual for a page. I know that now. If I'd have known it then, I'd have run for the hills and Madeleine the king. What are you talking about? You want to hear this, lady whatever? I'm a foundling, dropped off on the doorstep and raised with the other dogs. I've no idea who my people are. Charity brought me up, that in the street. So I learned a few letters and eating dirt and picking pockets and washing shirts. House girls, sometimes somebody wants us for a servant. Nobody important, of course. We're not good enough for that. That background would certainly explain her speech and manner, but then what is she doing here? As she said, an orphan peasant would rarely rise higher than some merchant's back kitchen. One day this fancy lady, all in good clean clothes, came to the house. She says His Majesty wants to look good, do something nice for the scum of the land. One of us little insects gets to go off to the palace and live the life of luxury. And they pick me. They clean me up and give me new clothes and the best meal I've ever had, and I think I must be dreaming. Then why? Why would you betray them? You got all the book learning, but you're still as dumb as a stone. Enlighten me. No. Why bother? I'm up for the long drop. No one will care I was ever here. So you think about it. Maybe you'll learn something. Or you forget. It's no difference to me. You're not going to die. You want Princess Cassidy to your side. She'll speak for you. That's no guarantee. Nobody is exactly what they look like. Perhaps so, but rarely is a seeming entirely false, and Cassidy has shown herself to be a very forgiving soul. Dolores pulls out a chair and sits down, then folds her hands on the table and lays her head atop them, closing her eyes. What are you doing? She doesn't answer me. Fine. I suppose there's really not much that we have left to say. She is rough and rude and manipulative and disloyal. We are too different to ever understand each other. I choose a seat where I can watch her at a safe distance and allow myself to relax. There is nothing to do but wait. Waiting dots. At long last the doors opened and a stern-looking pair of guards marched into the room. You are under arrest for the kidnapping and assault of Cassidy, Princess of Guelenor. Madeleine Valois. Wait, what? This is a mistake, isn't it? It was Dolores. Aren't you supposed to be arresting her? No mistake. I glare at Dolores. Say something. But she shakes her head. No surprise, why would she incriminate herself? Will you come with us, or will we have to carry you? And what about her? None of your business, but she's to see the king for her reward. A reward? How is this possible? I don't know how she's done it. Somehow, some way, she's played us all for fools. This isn't over. If you've harmed Oscar in any way, you will wish that they'd hanged you. That's enough out of you. Strong hands seize hold of my arms and begin to pull me away, but I keep my eyes locked on hers. And she says nothing. Nothing at all. Oh, not the dungeon. When I was a little girl, my favorite book was Tales of Spirits, a collection of stories penned by the late Countess de Barneville. Not all were about fairies or magic, but most were about adventure. Brave young shepherdesses frightening the wolves away from their flock. Handsome tailors who won the hearts of lonely princesses. Knights and dragons. And then there were the darker tales, the stories intended to frighten children into obedience. Those were the stories my mother read to me. There was the story of Tomba, the troll slayer, who celebrated his victory over one monster with dancing and feasts until he collapsed with exhaustion. And then the troll's mate returned, cut off his head, and used it as a drinking cup. Or the two brothers who met a witch in the woods and promised to watch her chickens. One kept his promise, and the witch gave him a handful of jewels. The other was distracted and ran off to play, and the witch turned him into a slug and fed him to her birds. Or the story of Absalyn, a little girl who fell down a well. Instead of using her wits, she cried and cried and cried, until at last she drowned in her own tears. These are the thoughts in my mind as I stand in the dungeons of the Palace of Guelenor. I do not scream, because there is no one to hear me, no one who would make any difference. Oh, sorry, getting a phone call. Just a second. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I'm back now. I think I finished that first paragraph, right? Okay, patience. Not escape, not yet. I need to know more about what's going on before I try anything along those lines. The guards may not be entirely incompetent, and a failed attempt would only land me in greater trouble. Therefore, I wait, and I think about the mysteries I am faced with. And about revenge. Dolores. Who is she, really? Certainly not just an orphan peasant girl. I recognized earlier that she had to be someone's agent, but in all the confusion over Callum and Cassidy, I let that thought slip my mind. Weakness. I should not have been so distracted. And to think I almost felt sorry for her. But how did she do it? How could she turn the situation around so completely? Did she convince one of the others to betray us, or did her mysterious benefactor step in to save her? Callum, Cassidy, Oscar. Where are they now? Are they all right? What are they doing? Do they know what has happened to me? Did one of them order this? What am I going to do? So many unanswered questions. As dungeons go, my current environment is not so bad. It is certainly a far more pleasant place to be than the tunnels which Prince Callum led us through. The windows let in a bit of light and enough breeze to carry away the worst scents. I can even catch a few glimpses of green. The metal bars are strong and firmly set. This is not a way out. Still, a hand can easily fit through these gaps, and that does present possibilities. The view behind me is less picturesque, but acceptable. I have space to move around, and that space is largely dry and relatively clean. The bed even comes with a rough blanket, and is more comfortable than where I slept last night. But now is not the time to sleep. I need to be ready to catch every clue so that I can plan. Planning dots. It's so quiet in here. There's no one but me. What if no one ever comes? Dots. I'm staying calm. I am prepared. More dots. I can't wait here forever. Oscar might be in trouble. I gotta do something. Ah! Oh, footsteps. Maybe now I'll get some answers. Maddie! Oscar! I thrust my hand through the bars to guide him to my cell. Are you alone? Are you all right? What happened? I don't know. They split us up. When King Praetoric finally came to talk to me, he starts saying that I've misunderstood the situation. Because of course Prince Callum didn't kidnap his sister, and apparently that servant didn't either. They're off limits. Saving face. Politics, of course. Never mind that Prince Callum hated his parents enough to rob their treasury and kidnap his sister. Never mind that Princess Cassidy's life was in very real danger. Never mind that the king and queen had been mistreating their son and daughter for years, lying to them and keeping them apart. The first priority of the crown is to protect itself. Callum abducting Cassidy would be a scandal. Therefore, they claim it didn't happen. But things have gone too far to dust away the whole situation. Everyone in the palace knows that Cassidy was missing. At least a dozen must have seen us return. The king and wisdom have to admit that someone laid hands on the princess. That blame should have fallen on Dolores. She was, after all, guilty. But for some reason that I cannot yet divine, it seems that the king has other ideas. I hope we finally find out why Dolores is untouchable. They can't be blamed, so someone else has to be. And that means you and I. Yes. I don't understand it. Callum, sure, the royal family doesn't want to be embarrassed. But the page, she's nobody. Apparently not. So, what is the official story? They said if I didn't agree, they'd have you executed. Just tell me. The story is that you were behind the whole thing. Only you. You wanted to make me look like a hero, and I knew nothing about it. Blaming Oscar, after all, might cause an incident between the two kingdoms. So, I'm the villain. What is it then? Flogging? Branding? My thumbs? No! I would never let them do anything like that to you. Well, good, because I don't think I could let them do it to me either. They need your silence to pass their fiction, don't they? What did they offer? You have to stay here in the dungeon until we leave. Then, once you're out of Guelinor, you never come back. That's all? Well, they also want you to confess. In public. That way it doesn't look like a cover-up. But it's good, because once they proclaim that you're just banished, they can't change their minds. So it will be okay. That's right, isn't it? You'll be safe. It's not even a real punishment. I know I wouldn't want to come back here. It's certainly better than being tortured or killed, but not a real punishment? What will his parents think when we return to Osendaware? They too have reputations to protect. The full weight of the scandal will fall upon my shoulders. I don't believe that they would harm me, especially not with Oscar to speak for me, but I would by necessity be cast out, unemployed and unemployable. Not a one of my ideas for supporting myself would survive in such circumstances. Oscar can't see it. He's so pleased that he's protected me, saved me from a horrible fate. He doesn't know what this will mean. But what else can I do? If the Crown of Guelinor is determined to make me a scapegoat, I have no leverage to convince them otherwise. I could attempt to escape and flee, but what would become of Oscar? Even if he ran away with me, the scandal would follow us. I will not give up all hope. At least if I take the blame, then Oscar will be declared innocent. And if we return safely to Osendaware and his parents are grateful for what I've done, perhaps they will have me quietly pensioned off. I can't risk losing that by fighting a useless battle. Until I find some other card to play, I must submit. You're right, it's not so bad. I'll visit you all the time. I'll bring you books and food. No! I let go of his hand, stepping back from my cell door. You can't. I'm supposed to be the evil villain, remember? And you're the innocent victim. I betrayed you. If we're going to do this, if we're going to play along with their fiction, we have to do it all the way. Otherwise, we lose everything. You have to pretend to be angry with me. You have to stay away. I can't just abandon you. Yes, you can. It's only for a week or so, right? I'll survive. We both will. Whatever you do, you have to take care of yourself. You have to stay safe and stay out of trouble. I won't be there to clean up after you, right? So don't get any wild ideas about poking around solving mysteries. Maddie. You go on now. Don't leave them waiting. Tell them I understand and I agree. Fine. I'm going. I can't see him, but I can hear his footsteps slowly retreating. There's a little voice in my head screaming at me to beg him to come back, plead with him not to leave me here alone in the dark. But there's no point in screaming. I'm not listening. Time slips by, unmarked and unknown. Having obtained my submission, the forces set against me are in little hurry to make use of it. Instead, they are busy setting the scene. What is politics, after all, but theatre? Only when the audience is in place am I summoned to deliver my lines.